Have you ever noticed that when paintball is in the media, it's always for the dumbest shit? You see like a paintball war in the hood. You see people doing drive-by shootings with paintballs. It's never good press. Yet, as a community, we've done some really impressive things. Look at Chris Rangel and his Veterans Militia national level tournament program, helping people adjust after coming home from war to get into paintball and let it out there and building that brotherhood. What about the Montresor's Marauders, who are creating a scholarship for youth paintball players? That's not going to make it on the news. But we have one player on Team USA who took things way too far just to make a point, and that gets in the news? This whole thing just feels very unfair. What's up, guys? This is Scotty here with Will Ball for Soup, and we're going to take a deep dive into why Jessica Maiolo got ultimately canceled and kicked off Team USA Paintball. The road to coming back to YouTube is almost at an end. You might notice that this video sounds a little different. It's because I'm using the HyperX Quadcast. We're upgrading it every step of the way to bring you the best paintball channel possible. This video wouldn't have happened without the generous support of FPS Paul, the head of the Violence brand, who's allowing me to use his footage of the NorCal Kings. The reason the story got so much attention is just a bit of bad luck. What happened was the mainstream media thought Jessica Maiolo and Team USA Paintball were competing at the current Summer Olympic Games. This pushed the story to the forefront of the media, and it was covered by so many different sources. This thing is everywhere right now. If you just type in Team USA Paintball on Google, it's going to be on The Hill, NBC News, CBS News, USA Today, Fox News Nation Now, Yahoo, the New York Post, the Daily Mail, the Daily Dot, and the list goes on and on and on. And what's so sad about this is this news story is going to be a ton of people's first taste and first glimpse of what tournament paintball is. And it's just not who we are. One side note to the story is that some media sources are classifying Jessica Maiolo as a professional paintball player. She has not ascended to that level. Team USA Women's are not pros. They compete against other nations' teams in the NXL Europe League. Jessica is more akin to a Division III paintball player, but not like the WCPPL D3. That's a really challenging, tough league. She's more like NXL D3 5-man, just to give you a clearer picture of where she sits. Now that we know more about Jessica, let's take a look into what she said exactly and where she said it. Jessica posted a video on her TikTok. Now, I am not into TikTok at all. I do not have the app installed. That's so cringy. I don't spend any time there. But Jessica does have a TikTok, and that is where this whole thing started.
Ma'am, your kid does not need a COVID shot. Your kid needs a f***ing treadmill. That's what he needs.
When I first started this YouTube thing, my uncle Derek told me something important, and it actually plays a part in what Jess did and what makes it so unpalatable, so disgusting for the mainstream media. Derek told me to always punch up and never punch down. What that means is always take shots at entities, at people, at companies, at businesses, whoever. If you're taking a shot at somebody, make sure they are bigger than you. They have more resources, they have more money, more followers, whatever. And never punch down. Never go after the vulnerable. Never go after that kid in the hospital, the channel that only has a couple subscribers. But my exception to this rule, and there's always an exception, you're allowed to punch down if somebody below you takes a shot at you first. This video is not meant to defend what Jessica said. I agree with the mainstream media on this one. This was inexcusable, it was morally wrong, and it was a clear case of punching down. To use a kid in the hospital who is fighting for his life, and then to take that shot at his mother, who's probably worried sick, I understand where all this outrage is coming from. It makes sense to me. If Jessica were to say that it's more important to focus on your health, your physical well-being, losing weight if you're overweight, and that's how you're going to survive the virus, that point of view is actually valid. There may be some substance to it. You might debate it. It's not necessarily a mainstream point, but that's just different from what she said. I think Jessica was going for the shock value of using a hospitalized teenager to make her point of view, because this teenager was a little bit overweight. But when you're that vulnerable, when you're sick in the hospital, when your mother is just nervous and worried, you can't go after a kid to underscore that point of view. That's not okay. There's a hidden political context to this entire story. The mainstream media is trying to demonize those people who fall into the quote-unquote anti-vax category. Personally, I have yet to receive the vaccine because I'm not convinced that it's one, safe, and two, effective. I love the idea of a vaccine. I am not an anti-vaxxer. If I was convinced that it was safe and effective, I would have that thing by now. I would have it immediately. But this is so new, I kind of fall into that wait and see category. But as the mainstream media is demonizing those who have differences in opinion instead of embracing them and giving them a platform to discuss this, that's why this thing has blown up as big as it has. The mainstream media wants the side who are labeled as anti-vaxxers to look ignorant and dumb. And when you're taking shots at a kid in the hospital, I think you do look pretty ignorant and dumb. So this was actually kind of effective. Well played, MSM. I've battled with my weight for my entire life, and I hate to see Jessica fat shame this kid in the hospital. That's totally not fair, and it doesn't even work. What I've learned over the years of battling with my weight, of jumping 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds, sometimes I get really chubby, sometimes I get jacked. It just really depends on what's going on in my life at that point in time, right? But what I've learned is that when you get fat shamed from external sources, that's other people telling you that you should be embarrassed about what you look like. You just bury that deep inside you and you keep eating. External fat shaming does not work. And I want everybody watching this video to take that in. If you know there's somebody on your team, or if you have a friend who has a weight problem, trust me, they know about that weight problem. They don't need you to tell them about it. And when you tell somebody who has a weight problem that they're fat, they're just going to keep eating more and more and more to bury those feelings. When I started my recent weight loss journey, that came from within. I saw a picture that a fan posted of me on Instagram. He wanted a picture with me, of all people. There's so many people who are really good at paintball, and he wanted a picture with me. And I looked at that picture, and I saw how fat and disgusting I looked. And that's when I got on the treadmill. And that's when I started running and eating salads and not stuffing my face every minute. Fat shaming doesn't work, and this example of fat shaming somebody so vulnerable is disgusting. After a short internal review, Team USA made the decision to part ways with Jessica Maiolo over her TikTok video. When you're playing on a team that's representing the entire nation, you are to be held to the highest standards of character and behavior. This Team USA is also the darling of the paintball industry, receiving heavy sponsorship, big merchandise deals, and this team is very well funded, especially considering they're traveling internationally to play European teams. Nick Slowiak, a true ambassador of paintball, reached out to the person responsible for canceling Jessica Maiolo and tried to get some sort of a dialogue going. I haven't really been following that arc of the story too closely, but this woman responded on Twitter with, "Hey Nick, thanks for reaching out on Twitter after I blocked you on Instagram. To answer your question, white men don't get a voice on my page, and defending silence doesn't hold space." I don't know what defending silence doesn't hold space means, but the first part of that answer is white men don't get a voice on my page. That is blatantly racist. I don't really get the rules for these people. They act as if they're the culture and morality police, but there's something blatantly racist sent over to Nick Slowiak, who, for all intents and purposes, is one of our best. He's one of our finest. That isn't okay either. And the fact that they're having fun with ruining her life and all the pain that Jessica is going through, the pain that this kid in the hospital is going through, and the mother, they're just rejoicing that the woke mob has claimed another victim. That doesn't sit right with me either. I understand why Team USA has come to the conclusion to remove Jessica from their roster, but at this point in the story, the only thing that should matter is the health and well-being of this teenager. And from what I've researched, he's doing A-okay. He made it out of the hospital. He's getting back in shape to play football. He's an offensive lineman. I was an offensive lineman. So I'm rooting for this kid. I feel really bad that he's kind of gotten wrapped into one of the biggest scandals paintball has ever seen. And I feel that my contribution to this story has been as constructive and fair and balanced as possible. not all of us are scumbags. We really love this sport. We want to see it grow. And this has definitely been a black eye for our community. I believe in free speech over everything else. So these comments are going to be wide open for you guys to hop in and discuss this story. Some things to think about. Did Jessica deserve to be kicked off Team USA? Was she treated fairly by the mainstream media? And additionally, how can paintball recover from this black eye? This really has made us look awful. Yo, thank you for rocking with me all the way through this video as we discuss one of paintball's biggest scandals of all time. This is Scotty with Will Ball for Soup, and I hate that I've been away from the scene for this long, and I hate that I'm only coming back for sporadic videos where I comment on big news, but Will Ball for Soup is gearing up. I am almost able to afford this next camera. In fact, I'm bidding on it right now on eBay. So once I get that new camera, I'm going to come back hard, and we're going to pick up right where we left off. Thank you to everybody who's still rocking with me, who's still subscribed during this hiatus. I appreciate you so much. The fact that people think that this is cool and like even listen to what I have to say blows my mind. There was this one time where I was hanging out with Rainey Stanzik, right? And this kid asks me to sign his loader. And I totally do, but I'm like, yo, kid, you know that's Rainey Stanzik, who's been pro for 15 years, who's won national level events, who's going to roast me 10 out of 10 times if we played one-on-ones, but he wanted my signature. And that moment was so powerful, and it's something that I'm never going to forget, and it's something in the back of my mind that wants me to keep pushing, to go one more round, one more era of Will Ball for Soup. The story isn't over yet. See you guys next time.